We're going to do one called What is Money? And we're going to explain the concept of money so that people can understand it. There are a lot of misconceptions and misunderstandings about money. We need to clear them up because if you want to understand the current cost of living crisis and also the massive increase in inequality over COVID, you need to understand what money is. So this is going to be super important for the viewer to understand. The very number one thing people need to understand, money is not real resources. So lots of very wealthy people don't actually have huge amounts of money. They have largely real resources. Money is a separate thing. We're going to explain that. Now, one of the reasons why money is confusing is there are actually a couple of different ideas.
We'll just give him that one, like when it says, okay, money does not equal natural resources. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Word.
Ideas around what money is bouncing around. And the best way to explain that is, I think, to go through an example. So let's imagine I've got £1,000 and you've got nothing. Then I lend you for a week my £1,000. How much money do you have then? It's an interesting question, right? Because on the one hand, you've got £1,000 in your pocket that I just gave you. But on the other hand, you have a debt of £1,000 to me, right? So you literally physically have £1,000, but as an individual, when you consider how much money you have, you should also consider your debts, right?
That's incorrect. So accounting has an equation. I've already mentioned it earlier. I will mention it again. Assets equals liabilities plus equity. This is the balance sheet of a business. Mm-hmm. Okay. So if he, as he said, initially has £1,000, mm-hmm. And let's use, well, it's fine, pounds, but we'll get into the distinction between currency and money, I'm sure, at some point. Okay, his balance sheet would say he has £1,000, and on the equity side of the balance sheet, assuming he has no liabilities, would be his owner's equity. So he, if it's a solely owned business, he would own all of that £1,000, right?
Got it.
Now, when he lends it to the guy across the table, the guy who started out with no balance sheet or a balance sheet with zeros on it,
yep.
now receives a £1,000 loan from Gary.
Yeah.
So that's a liability. He owes that money back to Larry. But on the asset side, he's got £1,000 of currency. So he still has a net worth of zero.
Right.
Because his assets are totally wiped out by his liabilities.
Yep.
Basically. Whereas Gary, on the other side, now has asset loan to dude.
Yep.
Right? And he has full equity in that loan, which is still an asset to Larry. Because Larry, what's his name?
Gary.
He is a Larry. So money does not equal net worth.
Yeah.
He's already conflating the two terms. He's saying, oh, it's an interesting question. If I loan you £1,000, how much money do you have? It's like, well, in one sense you have £1,000. In another sense, you don't have anything because you need to contemplate your liabilities. No, that's what the accounting equation in the balance sheet is. It contemplates your net worth. So you had £1,000. This is why I wanted to go with gold originally, because currency gets a little bit muddier. Mm-hmm. If I have £1,000 of gold and I loan it to someone else, I now have no gold.
Right.
All I have is a promise that this person will pay me money in the future. Right. And assuming they pay me back with interest, that's the point I would retire the loan and recognize the interest revenue on the loan. If you paid me back at 5% or whatever it was. So whereas the other person has what I described earlier. So already he's conflating the terms money with net worth, which is incorrect.
So if we consider also your debts, you don't have any money. You've got £1,000 and £1,000 of debt. But
he does have money. Again, the guy has £1,000, but he also owes someone £1,000. Mm-hmm. So he has money, but his net worth is zero because his assets equals his liabilities, which is another way of saying he has no equity in his own business.
Yep, makes sense.
Just consider how much cash you have on hand. You have £1,000. The next question is, how much money do I have? So I've given you all my money, my £1,000. So you could say I don't have any money, but you owe me £1,000 and I'm going to get it in a week. So if we consider all of my money, including money owed to me, I've got £1,000.
That's not money. Okay. Money promised to you in the future is not money. That is credit. That's a promise. That's what debt is. Like promise to pay money in the future. Yep. It's debt if you are the person making the promise, and if you're the person receiving the promise, then it's credit basically. It's a note receivable to you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
but it is not money, right?
Yeah.
If I give you a Bitcoin and you say you're going to pay me back next week, okay, do I have the Bitcoin? No.
Right.
You have the Bitcoin until you pay it back to me. All I have is a promise that you will pay me back a Bitcoin in the future.
Yes.
That's it. So he's conflating terms still.
Now, most economists, if they looked at that situation, would say that once I've lent you £1,000, we both have £1,000. That's
Wrong.
interesting, right? So once the loan is made, the amount of money is doubled, okay? And I think this captures the complication we have with understanding what is money. Because some people would say, if you have money but you also have debt, then you don't have money. Some people would say, well, if you have the money, it doesn't matter whether you have debt or not. Some people would say, well, if you've lent the money out, you don't have money. And some people would say, well, if you have money owed to you, you have money. Basically, do I need to have that cash in my pocket for it to be money? Do I need to have no debt for it to be money? If I have somebody owing me money tomorrow, do I have money? And the reason this is complicated is most people's money is cash in the bank, right? But actually, when your money is in the bank account, the bank doesn't actually have that money in many cases. That's money that they owe to you. So there's a complication here about whether...
I have to pull this up. I hope I can say it correctly. But yes, when people say, I have money in the bank, this is very important to the Bitcoin rabbit hole, right? It's not money. It's not yours. And it's not in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's currency. You don't actually own it. You've loaned it now to the bank. So they have the currency. You don't. You have a promise to receive currency from the bank in the future.
Well, they've loaned it out. So it's not even
and the
there.
last part is that it's not in the bank because they re-lend it.
Yeah.
So these things that are called demand deposits, right? You open online banking, there's $100,000 there. You think, oh, I've got $100,000 in the bank. No, you don't. Read the fine print.
Yeah.
You are a creditor to the bank. You have loaned them currency that they then re-lend to other parties, and they have promised to pay you back the digits that are on that screen.
Uh-huh.
That's the actual factual, legal, commercial relationship between you and the bank. And now that we still need to get a layer deeper because the currency itself is basically corrupt. But
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get into that.
include debt and whether we should include money that is owed to you. And I'm going to argue that yes, we should include debt, and yes, we should include money that is owed to you. And in a way, we have to include money that is owed to you because any money you have in the bank account is money that is owed to you. So essentially, everything that ordinary people think of as money, with the exception of cash, is money that is owed to you. So
Wrong. What is gold? What is gold?
It's a bearer instrument. It's yours.
If you hold
have
physical gold in your possession, well, it's neither owed to you. What was his other point? It was either owed to you, or what did he say?
Go back.
Let's hear it again.
to
Gary.
you. And I'm going to argue that yes, we should include debt, and yes, we should include money that is owed to you. And in a way, we have to include money that is owed to you because any money you have in the bank account is money that is owed to you. So essentially, everything that ordinary people think of as money, with the exception of cash, is money that is owed to you.
Okay, cash in the real sense of the word, which I'm sure he's not using. He's using cash to refer to paper currency, fiat currency. Cash comes from the French word caisse, which means money box. And when cash settlement was executed, it meant the physical settlement of metal for instruments.
Yes.
So you were paying in cash, which means you were paying in bearer asset commodity money, typically gold.
Yeah, I just learned that the other day when we were watching Sailor. I didn't know that.
So cash in that sense is correct. That is money in your physical possession that is not owed to you by anyone. Again, back to the accounting equation, it's 100% asset and 100% equity. There's no associated liability.
Right.
Now, the problem with fiat currency is that liability that's undisclosed and always it's intrinsic to the note itself, and the liability.
Inherent?
inherent, intrinsic. It is built into it. You cannot discharge it, right?
Yeah.
So when I take all my cash, my physical currency out of the bank, and I put it under my mattress, and I think now I'm safe from the bankers and I'm safe from the central bankers. Wrong.
Yeah.
They can still counterfeit the currency. They can still steal your purchasing power. They can still hyperinflate the currency. They can still deauthorize the currency. The Bank of India turned off the 500 rupee banknote overnight once.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So there's a liability built into these banknotes.
Yeah.
And again, even if it was a gold-backed banknote that is redeemable for gold, there's still a liability. The paper is the liability. It's the promise that someone's going to give you gold in the future.
Right. And
Fiat currency is weird because it's a promise to nothing.
Right.
It's this perpetually broken promise that's broken through inflation, basically, that people are passing around, using it as money, even though it's basically just a fraudulent currency. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, click here to find more just like it, and here to find our most recent episode. Also, make sure to like this video to help shine light on the corruption of money. And be sure to subscribe to this channel to stay connected.